Hello everybody, welcome to another Manage training session. Today we are going to be running through how to understand and navigate the Transactions tab. So the Transactions tab is linked to each property, so every property has their own Transactions tab. And what the Transactions tab is a review of all of the completed payments made, whether it be the agency payments, owner payments, or tenant payments, specifically for this property. It also gives you an indication of any upcoming payments, whether it's rental items, bill items, again, for the agency, owner, or tenant linked specifically to this property. So every property has their own Transactions tab, which you can review the completed and upcoming payments and the whole payment history of anything being made to managed. Starting on up to begin with, we are looking at that first box, and this box here gives me a little bit of an indication of the tenant's payment frequency, the price, and where they are paid up until. So as you can see, my tenant here pays their rent fortnightly as a figure of $1,700. They are currently paid up until the 21st of August 2024. On the right hand side is my property wallet. So every property has a property wallet, and this wallet is specifically for bills and funds that are required to be made for owner bills. So this is specifically a property wallet for the owner and what bills they are required to pay for this property. As you can see, there is currently funds being held. So this is my funds being held line item right up the top, and the required item down below. So at the moment, there is funds being held for $2,133.20. And why are there funds being held, might you say? Well, our owners have three options of how they can have their rent to be dispersed to them: instant, weekly, or monthly. And sometimes if an owner is set up on weekly or monthly payments, there usually is money being held as the desired required of the frequency, because they have chosen, and if I was to click my owner's profile here, her rent to be dispersed to her monthly. The required line item below is where it shows how much money is required to be held from rent in order to pay for landlord bills. So at the moment, there is only $500 required. Now you're probably thinking, oh, there's $2,000 being held, $500 required. How come the bill required hasn't yet been paid? Well, as you can see in the upcoming section, there is a council rate for $500 that the owner needs to pay. But the system is going to make this payment on the due date, which is the 22nd of August. Now, I could technically go in, because there is money available in the funds being held, and make a payment of this bill. But I'm just going to let the system do its job, and the system is going to make that payment on the 22nd of August. Further to our upcoming section, you can also see that there is the next rental item that the tenant has to pay. So they are paid up until the 21st of August, meaning their next rent is due on the 22nd, and it covers from the 22nd to the 4th of September, being a fortnightly period. Below is a line item which you can see giving a suggested due date of when the tenant should pay that money from their bank account to the system. That is just to ensure that the tenants are paying their rent a week ahead. Of course, at the end of the day, the rent is due on the Thursday. As long as it's made and cleared by the Thursday, the tenant will have those payments made on time. If by any chance it reaches the Friday and the tenant still has not paid their rent, the system will start to mark it as an overdue and the tenant being in arrears. Below, I can apply a credit. So if I need to apply any credit for my tenant here, because maybe they paid a bill out of their own pocket for a repair and they need to be reimbursed, instead of reimbursing funds to the tenants, all we can do is make applications or apply credits to their rent. And if you were to do so, you would pop that little click that little plus button, pop the amount, and then the reason. And that would also mark that there is a credit which you can tick and remove if needed be. Further below, we are getting into our completed payments. So this is showing all of the completed payments in the system, whether it's rental completed payments, bill completed payments, or even agency payments. So maybe the agency received money from the owner for things like letting fee, or maybe the agency even had to pay the owner potentially for maybe keys that they've lost, for example. So any bills that are linked to this property can be found, whether it's agency, owner, or tenant, under the upcoming or completed section. Now, with the completed section, you can see the rental line item. So what period this rental amount covered for. So the Thursday, the 8th of August to the 21st of August, and then right down below when it was received, so the 2nd of August. If I wanted a further in-depth breakdown of how this money was moved around, I can click this little arrow and it's going to show me that there was an invoice total of rent for $1,700. Agency fees of $68 was deducted. The system paid to the wallet. Remember, that wallet is that top right-hand corner icon there. $1,632 gives me the tenant's name and the lease status. Now, sometimes, and I'll show you an example, if the owner is set up on instant payments, it's going to say, instead of paid to wallet, paid to owner. And I'll show you right now what that looks like. So it gives a little line item. And if there's multiple owners, it will show the multiple owners that it was paid to, and they're split based on what was originally created with the owner profile, because some of the owners might have a 50-50 split on the rent. Now, as I mentioned originally, it does show all of the rental items paid for this one property, no matter what tenancy. So you can see all of the completed payments, the bills. And if I was to scroll further down, I can see the deposit. This deposit was made for the tenant Justin. I scrolled further down again. More payments. There's another deposit, and this was for the previous tenant named Chloe. So this gives you an indication of all of the payments made, whether it's bills, rent for the property. Now, if your owners are set up on a weekly or monthly disbursements, you're going to see this little payment to owner section. And that is pretty much giving a little icon of a wallet to user transfer, and then the amount that was paid out to the owners with the due date that it was paid. Again, if my owners are set up on instant payments, like my owner here, it's not going to show that wallet transfer, because that happens at the initial process when money comes in. Money comes in from rent, it automatically deducts the agency fees, and then instantly it's going to transfer that balance to the owner, unless there is money required to being held for owner bills. Now, on this property here, I can just show you a little bit of an indication of what it may look like if a tenant is overdue in rent. So my tenant here, monthly rental figure, they last paid their rent on the paid up until the 28th of July. They're currently 8 days overdue. It's also going to show there is an overdue rental item marked on their upcoming rental period, and then the one after that, that is not yet due. They also have a water usage bill, which is overdue as well. If I wanted to, I could go and prioritize that payment because the tenant has some money in her wallet. As soon as the rent comes in, that's overdue, the system will automatically allocate the funds and do what it needs to disperse that to the owner. Hopefully this gives you a little bit of an indication of understanding our transaction center better. If you do have any questions or queries, always feel free to reach out to our support chat or book in a training session where necessary.